Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing well. Doing extremely well. How was the backpack giveaway?
It was nice. It was nice. It was a combination of Ashahid, Masjid Ashahid, Joy Church, I believe that's what it was called, and then the
Hmm.
Akbar Foundation. And we did really good. They got over 200 book bags. So, with
That is
supplies.
that's excellent. That is
hmm
really nice. Yep.
Wow. Then we had halal hot dogs, and it was just really good. And what else? Yeah, I think that we just had halal hot dogs and snacks and drinks, but it was still very very nice, and those got gone really quick.
I
So
can imagine. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I've participated in, usually we would do two a year. And this year, to the best of my knowledge, the organization that I worked with in the past that did not schedule any. And I think it's because of the imam that was the Imam Samad, who was the primary driver. He passed away. So
mm,
nobody stepped up to, kind of take his place and make sure that those things happen. But those are always fun events to see the kids and the parents, and they're so happy to. And there's a brother who had a halal Kentucky Fried Chicken place,
oh
and
wow,
he brought, like, you get like two pieces of chicken, a side, and then the roll or whatever. And he always supplied the food.
that was awesome.
Yeah, and we didn't do it this year, and I'm not like a board member, so I couldn't push for anybody to do anything. But it didn't happen, and those are just such neat events. I even had my youngest son. One year we did it. He was still a student. He was in high school here, and I had him come and work with us as a volunteer because his school gives them this thing that they have to do a certain number of volunteer hours every year in the community. So I had him work, stuffing backpacks, assisting people and all that stuff. He absolutely loved it, you know,
Awesome.
working and doing that stuff. So,
That's awesome. That was
yep. But
that's
that's
something
great
that
that you
needs to
guys
be
did that.
continued.
I hope you do it. Yeah, I hope you guys do yours every year. That it just becomes bigger and bigger.
Yes. Well, my mom used to do it. We used to do it before. This wasn't our first time, but it was the first time
Okay.
of us joining and my sisters coming in because they don't really come to the masjid as on a regular basis. And my sister,
Hmm.
one sister, she established the Akbar Foundation, and she's a
Okay.
insurance specialist. She used to work for Allstate, then she moved up to Hartford. Now she's at a private, I don't know what company, but it's supposed to be real prestigious, and they
Hmm.
help give donation to her foundation. And she's had set up two. We went to two African American owned, actually, because we used to always go to the Salvation Army shelter uptown Charlotte with the masjid for about 25 years or so with my mother. She organized going in there, taking the masjid food and a few helpers that would go with her and prepared a lunch. And they would let us utilize the kitchen and utensils, and but you had to be out and serve the food, of course, when they're
Right.
stay there that are unhoused come in for their meal, their lunch on Saturday. We had 12 to 1 to feed, and then we had to leave the kitchen because they would come in with their people and they had to clean it a certain way, consistent organizations. But we found an African American one near the airport here. It's called Harvest
Hmm.
House. Look it up. But I'm telling you, we had so much food. My sister organized everything, and they like she. My one sister, she needs to her macaroni and cheese. She is the whiz at it. I don't know where she got her recipe, but she attends the house of prayer with her husband for several years. I'm thinking that could have been I don't know if you ever ate the House of Prayer food, but they have good food. And
Never heard of it. Is it just in Charlotte or some? Is it
the
worldwide or something?
United House of Prayer for all people,
No.
I don't know. I only know that it's been around ever since I was uh, early 20s, or probably before that. And I didn't hear about
Huh.
it till I moved to Charlotte. But they used to have a Daddy Grace. I don't know if you remember Daddy Grace, but I don't think they have him no more. I don't know whether they evolved or have a new minister. But I think they have apostles or something like that. But
Okay.
I know that everybody used to go. A lot of people say they have really good food because they serve lunch throughout, for anybody who wants to come in. But she told me she did something. I know she uses three cheeses, and she told me that years ago. But she's we need to patent hers because everybody was coming back asking who made that macaroni and cheese. But then
Nice.
mhm.
It's nice.
Yeah, I know. And then we basically my sister set the menu, but we're gonna vary it. She had fried fish. We went to the Halal U.S. Chicken. It's the immigrants own it, but they're the biggest in Charlotte. They have halal fried chicken. And then I think my one sister usually she bakes some salmon, but she didn't want us to do a lot of cooking, so she ordered fried fish from a place like 100 pieces, and then we had fried chicken. Then we had mac and cheese, all the soul food. Usually we
Hmm.
have my sweet potatoes. Everybody likes those. Or the greens or green beans. I make great green beans, and my other sister bakes the best baked chicken. We cook the things that we are good at because my mother had us do that for Thanksgiving. She would assign us to bring the things that we go. One of my sisters does the greens. I do the candied yams and the green beans, and also, just whatever we were good at.
Right.
But it's seven of us, so that was the meal right there. Each one of us bring one or two things, and then my mom would always bring two turkeys and her meatloaf and her homemade rolls and brown rice that she used to make from the Nation of Islam, and it came
Hmm.
together. But we had this particular institution isn't that big. They had probably, I would say, probably about 50 people, if that much, come through. And we had a whole lot of food, but they came back for to-go plates for their neighbors and their friends and their daughters and their dad. So it worked out. We were able to make sure everybody had something to go to. That was our second time coming back. And what happens when they come in and they see us, they start texting everybody and getting
Oh
their
wow.
plates. But it worked out. So we know it's Sadaqah Jariyah for my mom, and that's just the way that my family my sisters, they can contribute too because they don't always have to be at the masjid or on a committee or serve in the community that way, which is great. Because yesterday we combined with the masjid, but they also, because some of them go to church, they also are business women, so they're able to establish connections in the community. So we're just trying to make sure that we're out there. And she brought all of us the Akbar Foundation. I'll send you a photo. She made us ordered aprons for everybody, and so we're like, alhamdulillah, we think our parents would be proud, and we hope that Allah, we pray that Allah, we know He will, accepts it as Sadaqah Jariyah for them, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, brother
All right,
Adam.
honeys.
Alaikum assalam. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes,
you.
I can. We
Assalamu
can
alaikum.
hear you.
Yeah, yeah. When I tuned in, since Khalidah was talking about Daddy Grace,
Hmm.
and Daddy Grace was
Yes.
that was back in my young days, and
Oh.
he was like a leader, like almost similar to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They had churches all over.
Okay.
They had churches
Oh.
over, and he was
He was.
had philosophy like he was a prophet of God or something like that. And they would come to High Point,
Hmm.
a lot of cities down the south they would come to, and during the collection he would bring a bathtub, saying he don't want to hear no coins.
Wow.
That is
Yeah,
Oh.
now that was in the early '50s. I mean mid '50s, and when when I was conscious enough to realize what's going on, and they would come to
mm,
it. They had a church in High Point also, but it was most of the South that had churches.
okay.
Oh.
Daddy.
Okay.
So was he analogous to Reverend Ike? Were they about the same time? And you familiar
Yeah,
with Reverend
similar
Ike?
similar to that. Yeah,
Okay.
similar to Reverend Ike. Yeah, yeah,
I don't know
yes,
what they
sir.
have now. Do you know what they have now? I know you probably don't know what they have now, but I don't know if they have that same concept. But I was
I
just sharing
don't
it.
I don't think so unless they memorialize him in that regard. But I don't think they have a contemporary leader like him. But
Alhamdulillah.
they do still have churches and
Alhamdulillah.
places of
Yeah,
worship all over. They were quite
all right.
interesting.
I'm gonna have to look
Yeah.
him up. I had not heard of him until this morning.
Yeah, Daddy Grace. He come through and it'd be a big deal.
So he had revivals and all that kind of stuff.
All that stuff. Yes, sir.
I used to, those things were hilarious. Is they used to have tent revivals in
Hmm.
Texas.
Right, right.
And you have all kind of people speaking in tongues and falling out, and you know, it was for a child to go to those and watch it. It was hilarious.
Yeah. It was different, right?
People walking down the aisle toward the minister like they were zombies. You know,
And I remember he had was that his church? He had a some Siamese twins. So it really was like they would bring it really was like a circus. Really.
right?
Yeah, really like a circus.
Hmm.
But you're attracted to people though.
Oh yeah, people love that stuff.
Hmm.
There was this one woman one time. Because my mother made us go to all these revivals. If there was a revival, my mother's going to drag us all to a revival. And this woman got up and she was speaking in tongues and she was shaking and everything like, the
Hmm.
zombie movies.
Hmm.
I was sitting I don't know where my mother sat me by the aisle. I guess because I was the oldest child. She sat me by the aisle. This woman is like 2 feet in front of me and she's going through all these mannerisms and stuff like, and then she looks at me and she says, catch me, I'm gonna fall. My
Did you
God.
no, did you catch it is the question?
Yeah, I caught her.
It
I'm
worked, see?
14. I'm 14 years old. I have manners, right? So I caught the woman. And of course,
It's called a planned fallout for Jesus.
yes. And of course,
Planned fallout for Jesus.
all the little women and the little white glove women and all the
Yeah.
deacons, everybody came running and everything and started praying over her. I'm just trying to get out of there.
How
They
much
haven't
money you
say
get?
they didn't give me
Huh?
a dime. They didn't give me a dime. I played. Hey, look, I played my role to the hill, and they didn't give me a dime.
Yes, sir.
Oh
Yes, sir.
man. Assalamu alaikum, brother Rabbani, Imam Talib. How are
Assalamu
you
alaikum.
guys?
Assalamu alaikum.
Edward, could you
Yes.
send a link to Dr. Ali for me, please?
All you have to do. Hold on one second. Let me get back to that screen. And okay, hold on one second. Make sure I can get that. Okay. What is his email address?
A is in Apple, L
Mm-hmm.
is in
Oh,
Larry,
hold on.
I is
I
in
gotta go.
ink,
Hold on. Start over. A, because I gotta go lowercase, I'm
A
sure.
is in Apple,
Mm-hmm.
L is in Larry, I as in India, I as in India again, N is in Nancy, M as in Mississippi, I as in India, S is in Sam, S is in Sam, 9@gmail.com.
Okay. On the way.
Okay.
So I'm hoping everybody had a wonderful week.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, I was just sharing about the food supply giveaway at the masjid yesterday. Did anyone else have one? I know most of the masjids do them as well.
Well, we hold on a second. Yeah, we link up to the North Carolina Food Bank. So we have food giveaways, and we probably have about 100 or more people to come to and get food. So we do it once a month.
Do you guys do the backpack giveaways before school there in Fayetteville, Adam?
Yeah, we've done that, but that's promoted by some immigrant Muslims
Okay.
that link up with us. Yeah, we do that also.
Okay. Because we did not do it this year, at least the organization that I have been a part of. We lost our leader. He transitioned, so we didn't do it this year. But all the years, I'd say for the last 3 or 4 years prior to COVID, and then after COVID, we were doing it in association, kind of jointly with ICNA. We had a really good relationship with them, and they would always, help out in a big way. So we were usually able to do a couple, but didn't do it this year. Definitely something that we need to restart. I know.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Edward.
Yes.
Dr.
Yes,
Ali
I know he's
is,
here.
On the line now.
He's here. I see him. I see him there.
Okay.
So, Imam Taalib, will you open us officially this morning?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin.
Ameen.
Alhamdulillah.
I want to welcome Brother Omar. Assalamu alaikum, Omar. And Dr. Ali, I see you. We also have a caller on the line from 228 area code. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Rabani, I'll turn it over to you to introduce Dr. Ali.
Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dr. Rashad and Ali is the physician of, I call him the physician of Mississippi, and entrepreneur. He's been in the community for many years, and I invited him when we met at the 50th anniversary of the leadership of Imam W. Muhammad in Philadelphia, and asked him that if he could give us an overview of what he has been involved with in reference to the credit union that he has acquired in Mississippi, and that he can give us some guidance and information on the process that he himself had to go through, and share those experiences with us. So since we have been going through several experiences similar to that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ali to the community of Graceline Community, Inc. Dr. Ali.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very, very much, Brother Rabani, for inviting me to this distinguished group that you have here. I would like to know a little bit more about what you are engaging in. However, you did speak in terms of the credit union, and our plight is the same in the sense that all of the work that we've been doing, we've been trying to get access to capital and have access to capital. And that's been one of the, that's been on our agenda for quite some time now. Let me kind of share with you. Basically, I'll just get right to the credit union piece, and I'll acquiesce from the meeting at that point. We started somewhere prior to Katrina, around 2003. We were looking to establish the New Medina Credit Union in New Medina, Mississippi. And we went to the state. It was a state. We were looking to do a state credit union because we felt that a federal credit union would have been a little bit more difficult and bigger than we had envisioned at that point. So we went through the process of trying to get a new charter. That was the direction that we went in, a new charter. And that new charter had certain requirements. And one of the requirements was that we do a big survey of the field of service, you know, who were going to be members, et cetera. And we did that survey, and the survey was quite successful. And we, somewhere around 2005, Katrina hit. And the brother who was working with us, with all of the information, it washed away with Katrina. So we basically had to start from ground zero. And that process, it took us, probably 2010, we started going back at it again. And basically the conversations that we were having with the director of the Credit Union Association, State Credit Union Association, who would have issued the charter, who was really trying to help us. And he saw the difficulties that we were having with that. And he basically stated to us that probably they haven't issued a new charter in more than 15 years. And at that point, it said, well, basically probably the easiest thing to do would be to go and just get one of these shells that are existing. And if you can get the shell, you can change the name and do whatever you want to do with it at that point after you acquire it. Well, we went a number of years still trying to figure out how to engage in a shell even. And it took us quite some time to get there. Well, I have a group now called AGU, Anchor Global United. That's a group of professionals, probably similar to what you have here. Various subject matter expertise. You know, we're doing financing. We do community development, commercial development, residential development, renewable energies, and so and medical. So we are now, I would imagine, about 8 months or so ago, in this plight of trying to establish financing. We came across, well, we were introduced to a federal credit union. And this federal credit union was a very small credit union with probably assets of about 1.5 million. And basically all they were doing is making little bitty loans, car loans, and et cetera. And we saw an opportunity to engage with them. And praise be to Allah, we were able to come to some kind of an agreement. And the agreement that we came up with allowed us to basically take control of the union, of the credit union. It's a federal credit union. Again, it's very small, but the goal is to expand it. So we've only had about 2 board meetings since the merger or the acquisition. And we were basically able to acquire a federal credit union without $1 exchanged. So we have now engaged National Credit Union Association, NCUA, and we're going through revamping bylaws and looking at, number one, the first thing we're going to have to change is the field of service. And we're calling it a faith-based credit union. You know, not auto loans, not, you know, it's a faith-based credit union, and it's a federal credit union. And we are looking at obviously expanding into various markets that will allow us to grow, you know, and accumulate more assets. And again, you know, it is pretty small right now, but we have set out to do it, and Allah has just blessed us to come in touch with this, and we have I mean, it's there. So that's basically where I am with that. And I was sharing that with Rabbani. I don't know how we got into this conversation, and he shared with me what you all were doing, and you know, to see if there might be some possibilities of synergy. And I guess the answer to that would be, I'm sure, because we intend to, being a federal credit union, we certainly are not going to just keep that based in Mississippi. Our goal is to move it out and to find collaborators and put various branches in various other locations. So that's kind of where we are with it. Right now, we only have 2 part-time employees. And like I said, assets of about 1.5, 1.7 million. And that's where we are. And so I guess at this point, I'll open it up for any discussions or any questions that you might have for me. Am I still on?
Yes, brother. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You are on. I think we're all just taking a minute to digest what you said. So, how many of the original board members did you retain?
Basically, it is we retain 4. We have a 9-member board right now. We expanded the board to 9 members. It started off at 5, and we expanded it to 9. So we added 4, and one of the board members that was on the board was part of our group anyway. So that's kind of where how we were able to acquire it.
And I'm sure that you guys did an audit prior to exchanging ownership of the credit union. Do you have an idea of what your good performing loans, bad performing loans, what that kind of report is at the present moment?
I don't have that information. I wasn't prepared to give you. You know, I was just basically going to give you an overview of what the process was to acquire it. I wasn't getting into the inner workings of the union itself. It's small. Everything, all of the audits have been up to speed. You know, there were no findings. Put it like this: there were no findings on the previous audit.
Okay. How was it? You're saying you're going to change the designation of the credit union to faith-based. What was it before?
It was located to a county, one county.
Okay.
A county.
So was it county employees that were the primary members, or just people of that county?
That's right. Citizens of that county.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that was the field of service.
Okay. Have you gotten any pushback from NCUA on wanting to change it, or they recommended that you change it?
Well, it's because it's federal. They realized that, you know, federal credit unions are not going to stay in one county. Mm-hmm. And we're encouraged to increase the field of service or change the field of service.
Okay.
And so that's the first move that we have to make, you know, and that process, again, it will allow us to move up out of one county to expand across the country, really.
And I'm going to throw this out to those of us in our group. do you guys think, and I'm saying guys, Sister Khalidah, I know that you're not a guy, but that a faith-based credit union or a single common bond credit union is a better designation? I haven't heard that. I mean, I'm familiar with the faith-based, but based on conversations that we've had, do you think the single common bond would be a better approach?
Well, I have a question again. Assalamu alaikum,
Yes.
Dr. Ali.
Hey,
This is
Master Lam.
Adam. This is Adam B.I.
Yeah, Adam, how you doing?
Doing good, brother. Doing good. Now, when you say faith-based, the change is to a faith-based.
I
Are you
share.
saying? Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No.
Now, I'm wondering, is it limited to one faith, or how are you going to address that?
Yeah,
You know.
that's the reason we changed it to faith-based, because we have a brother in West Africa, in Senegal, by the way, as the director of the Islamic Development Bank in West Africa.
Gotcha.
He's part of our group. His name is Omar Davis. Y'all probably know of Omar. Some of y'all might know him, but he's the director. And you know, the Islamic Development Bank is made up of 57 countries. And obviously the United States is not one of them. And we had the opportunity to be invited to the Islamic Development Bank's annual meeting. And we approached them about, you know, having an affiliate or a collaborating institution in the United States, and they were very encouraged by that language. So we realized that this credit union that was started was primarily started by Christians. And in order for us to introduce some of the Islamic products, which are interest-free loans and things of that nature, we realized that the best way to do it was to go faith-based, and that would not eliminate, it would be inclusive of Muslims, it would be inclusive of any other religion. As long as you believe in God, that was it. That was our approach to it, and it has been acceptable for the most part. And so that's why we went faith-based, because if you want to be a member and you don't want to deal in riba, you don't want to deal in that aspect, we have a window in the credit union that allows us to deal with Islamic products. By the same token, we're not going to eliminate, you know, the original products that were part of the union, from the credit union, from the start. So that's basically the reason that we went that way.
Understandable, and it was just a curiosity I had. And oddly enough, you said you didn't know what we were doing at Graceline, right?
I did not. I was not familiar with what was going on until I saw Rabani,
Right.
and he was sharing with me what was happening there.
Well, Edward, can you take a couple of minutes and just share what we've been doing here at Graceline? And the reason I'm saying that, you know, all kind of options are hitting my mind, but I heard the word synergy. I heard a couple other words. So can you share with him some of our thinking when we're trying to develop this? Because I see a lot. I do see some overlap.
I would almost say that if you're doing a Venn diagram, that
Yeah.
there's probably about an 85 to 90% overlap. The synchronicity is almost exactly the same.
Right.
So our original idea, Dr. Ali, was to develop a federal credit union that was primarily faith-based, though in our communications with NCUA and under their direction, we called it a single common bond. The single common bond being the association with Imam W.D. Muhammad followers, but not strictly limited to those followers. So our basis were people who would join and become a part of Graceline Community, either as individuals or organization, with no restrictions on individuals or organizations as long as they adhere to, as you said, you know, basic genuine belief in God and the principles of what we would say faith-based religions that are, I would even say we wouldn't exclude Buddhists, but along those same guidelines that you spoke of. The other thing that is synchronous is the fact that we would have a dual system for those individuals who wanted a purely Islamic Sharia-based finance system, like you're saying, no interest, fee-based, equity-based, that type of thing, and those who wanted to participate in a more European or Western finance system for the monies and transactions that they had with the credit union. Obviously, we want it to be federal because our association spreads across almost all the states in the United States and into the Caribbean and potentially beyond, though there are some issues with any type of foreign, you know, foreigner having shares necessarily. But there are some ways around that with organizations and things of that nature. So a lot of what you're saying is what our thinking is as far as the credit union. Obviously, we have some other things as a part of Graceline Community as far as financial literacy and things like that that we do and that we're involved in and are working on. Just in general, I mean, the nonprofit Graceline Community will continue to do those things even as a federal credit union flourishes. So there would be both. But I would think that what our thinking is and the direction that we're moving with NCUA is almost in lockstep with what you're attempting to do. And we've had to think outside, or well, we've had to make the box bigger in our thinking of how to raise money. And I think that's one of the things that you're going to get to in your conversation is how do you raise capital? How do you attract people to put money into a credit union when basically the money that goes into a credit union is a donation? There's no return on investment other than, you know, you feel good about helping a worthy cause. You know, and we've had to grapple with that, and there are some ideas out there and some law that has been put to effect that would actually aid that particular effort. So this is great. What you guys have done, the work that you put in, and the fact that you were able to affect this without capital, that's a step that bounced around in our heads, but we didn't have an avenue to it. So congratulations. That's fantastic. You're way ahead of the game. And my thinking is that it's not only our group, but there are other groups within the Association of Imam W.D. Muhammad that have very similar hopes about creating a financial institution to serve our community and beyond. That, you know, I don't know about everybody else, but we've reached out to other people and have been rebuffed in joining them in efforts to do this. I'm very open to having real deep conversation with you guys about what you're trying to do and helping you do it.
Well, thank you so much. We are all from the same community, and the way that I see it is whatever energies that we put forth is we're part of the same community. And I guess one of the questions that you asked was how do we intend to move forward with money raising and et cetera. Let me kind of share with you what I have. We have a group, like I said, the group called AGU is it's a holding company that we started, and the holding company has verticals, and part of the verticals, the various verticals include various subject matter experts that we brought to the table. And the ultimate goal of it was to go public with it, to be publicly traded. And under those verticals, the credit unions just happen to be one of the verticals underneath this holding company that we have. And right now we have individuals with the two companies underneath. Well, actually three. One does residential financing, and they got these guys got lands of up to 50 million. And I got another individual who's brought his company to the table, and they're doing commercial financing, and he goes up to about 2 billion. So with that being said, obviously the deals that are being cut, part of our agreement is to park some of that money inside this credit union. And the model for this credit union is already out there. When you look at things like USAA, you look at the Naval Credit Union, you look at the Keesler Federal Credit Union, all of these are already there. So some of those models are not, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just basically duplicate that model. And the only other thing is that we are using this as a vehicle to bring Islamic financing to the table. So Omar has been the Malaysians and Indonesians. Many people think that the Saudis are the people behind this Islamic development, but it's really not. The real Islamic finance is taking place seriously in a place, Malaysia and Indonesia. And so after meeting with them, in fact, we had an opportunity to meet with the Minister of Finance of Malaysia last year. And he is so into trying to ensure and see to it that African American Muslims, under the leadership of Imam W.D. Muhammad, his community, they want to see that we can begin to thrive and flourish. As a result of that, they even requested that we send at least 5 students to them, and they would give them, they would train them in Islamic-based finance. So we have that invitation, and we really want to move around and try to find some individuals that we could begin to consummate that agreement. So there are a lot of things. Now, the other piece to it is, and I know that we have folks doing this, but the insurance piece, we intend to offer insurance. We're doing it now. When it comes to commercial insurance, right now, anybody with a business, you got to have liability insurance, you got to have workman's comp, and if you're in construction and things like that, you have to have bonding. So our goal is to bring those pieces to the table too, when you're speaking in terms of raising capital. But the idea was to park those monies inside a credit union. So these are pieces that we just are bringing together, and that financial institution was the missing link, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. My question: if I'm an investor, if I've got $1 million and I want to help capitalize your credit union, is where is my return on investment? Where does it come from, the credit union? Given that the credit union, at least at this stage, there are one or two exceptions, but at least at this stage, without those exceptions, it's a nonprofit organization. So at the end of the day, your credit union is only able to retain a certain amount of capital that it gains from its operations. A lot of it has to go back in dividends to those people who have accounts. Obviously there's insurance on deposits to be paid. There are other things, the insurance pieces that you were talking about, but the credit union itself is going to be liable for it and has to pay to stay in good standing with NCUA. The ancillary stuff, the insurance products and different things that operate in conjunction with a credit union, they have their own reserve requirements that they have to meet in case there are claims. So the money that they typically put into a credit union, those are deposits. And obviously from those deposits, you can make loans and things like that increase the profitability of the credit union, but those are not direct capital investments. So I know what you want to do. It's the initial capital investment piece that, like I said, again, that we wrestle with how we're going to do it, that I think there needs to be some clarity to get the kind of growth. And I do think that there's tremendous growth potential with what you have right now. I think there's tremendous growth potential, but I think there's a particular way that you have to go about it to ensure that you don't cross any lines that invalidate your nonprofit status and cost you your charter. And I get the example I give when you mentioned the Indonesians and the Malaysians and the primary drivers over the last 20 years of Islamic finance in the West has been the United Arab Emirates. They've opened more and financed more institutions, especially in Western Europe, than any other group. They actively pushed Islamic finance. There are two reasonably sized, and they're still moderate in size, traditional Islamic banks in the United States of America. The primary one has its headquarters in Los Angeles. In fact, the founder just recently passed. He was actually going to be in Philadelphia for the 50-year celebration, but he actually passed, I want to say a couple of weeks prior to, maybe longer than that, but somewhere in that range. Those particular institutions, national banks, in the same class as Chase and Bank of America and Wells Fargo and PNC and the lot, who try to do Islamic finance in the United States and have been attempting to do that and even draw depositors, have run into a brick wall as far as, number one, just getting Muslims, period, to become depositors in their bank. And they've drawn almost zero investment from Islamic dominated countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Egypt, Iraq, and I could go on. My point is this. I think there's a path forward to get to the capital, but I don't think depending on the big talk coming out of Islamic countries is the way to do it, because they've never backed it up. They've never actually come with the money.
Well, I'm not here to debate you on any of that.
Oh no.
I
No,
just
this is not a debate. I'm trying to think of a way that we can start tomorrow on a path to getting you capitalized so that your institution can start to spread right now. In fact, there's no reason. I don't know what your minimum is to open an account, but there's no reason that from a marketing standpoint, you shouldn't be able to start getting, or well, pretty soon. I guess NCUA has to give you a green light, maybe, to accept a deposit from somebody like me who doesn't live in Mississippi.
I was
But
just let me just say a thing or two. You know, I don't pretend to be the guy who sits in the financial chair and give these reports. I'm chairman of the board of the program, but I rely on subject matter expertise, the guys who can talk the same language, and I don't pretend to sit and talk the language that you're talking right now. And if Rabani, if y'all want to speak to some of those guys, I will be more than happy to bring them to the table so that we can have those kind of discussions. But, you know, in other words, I kind of know my lane, you know, and I'm just basically bringing a report to you about what we're doing. And if there is a way that we could do some synergy, I want to bring the guys to the table who know all of the language, all of the rules and the regulations as it relates to, you know, credit unions, banking, finance, etc. And we have at least 3 or 4 of those guys on that in our group who can talk that, you know, and can share with you. I think that it would be really good that if we could have a conversation and I can arrange a meeting with the 2 groups. And the group is called Anchor Global United, AGU, and this is Graceline, right? Am I correct? Graceline?
Graceline Community, yes.
Graceline Community. I think that it would be good if we could have the 2 groups to have a Zoom call. And I'm going to invite all of y'all to come to New Medina for its 40th year anniversary this coming Memorial Day in New Medina, Mississippi. But I just slid that in. but I certainly think that it would be a good opportunity for us to do some collaborating, because that's definitely what we need. We have to have a united front when we're beginning to you know, move towards some of the other communities as it relates to what we're bringing to the table. Many times people don't respect us because we look like beggars when we come to the table. But when we come to the table with something substantial, which is usually in entertainment and sports, you know, they tend to respect us. But either way, I think that if we bring something to the table of this magnitude, you know, where us combining our efforts, we have a united front, we have a whole national network. I think if we begin to utilize those type things, we can really, really set ourselves in front of anybody, you know. So, but I certainly would like to start by, you know, putting a proposal together to say that I propose that we have a meeting with the group, Graceline Community and AGU.
Count me in.
Alhamdulillah, and assalamu alaikum to everyone. Martha Nyla here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree with that premise that we try to meet together and see if there's any points that we can collaborate on. Excellent news to my ears.
okay. Well, brothers, if there are no more questions for Dr. Ali, I'm gonna acquiesce and bow out, and hope that y'all have a wonderful rest of your meeting. And I'll be waiting to hear from either Rabani or one of the brothers or sisters from the group to
Would
see.
Brother Dr. Ali, would you like us to coordinate all this through Rabbani? I mean, you guys seem to have a good link,
Well,
communication link. So
yeah, I just been knowing him forever, and
that's the way it works.
and that's why I'm on this phone today.
Understood. Okay. Yeah,
So,
we'll communicate with you through Rabbani,
okay.
and we'll get something set up in the very, very near future.
All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you, brothers.
Assalamu
alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Did he leave?
No, yeah, he did.
He did.
Did you have something else that you wanted to say, brother?
No, that was good. This is Imam Tariq.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh,
okay.
I had to call in by the means I'm calling in due to some technical problems I'm having with my cell phone.
Okay.
Wow.
Fantastic. Understood. So you know Dr. Ali. I think you told me that you know him pretty well. Then
So we go back some 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've done some business with him it's been about 15 some years ago when he was doing the residential construction. I was designing and selling him the cabinetry and countertops for the kitchens for the houses he was building in Hattiesburg.
All right. Well, I mean, number one, his integrity is without question because you know him and Rabbani knows him, and I think Adam knows him. So his references are going to check out. So everything else is really going to come down to whether or not, we can join with him in getting his credit union up and running. So I think, as far as this morning, I mean, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, shut me down if you want to. Let's just have an open discussion on what you think about the possibility of working with them and the direction that we think it should go to become successful.
Alhamdulillah. And the relationship that CWSC has had too with Dr. Rashad Ali and his wife Donna, and the New Medina connections there in operation. So alhamdulillah. But yes, sir. Continue on.
Imam Taalib, I know that you were going to try to get something in before he left, so now's a good time.
Well, I would tell you, I actually wrote down two things that that I wanted to express to him. The first was Allahu Akbar.
Yes.
That was my after he kind of gave us his history, and I mean, I don't know if the rest of you all picked up on this, but by my calculations, assuming all of this happened in 2025, they've been hitting the lick at this snake, man, since 2003.
Right.
That was 22 years ago. I don't know a whole lot of people with that sort of sabr, patience. I just don't know them. I would put us in that category, but we haven't gotten to 22 years. But I do think we have enough years under our belt to be able to say, or to be able to put ourselves on this road, because we have maintained our patience and have allowed Allah to expose to us all of the dynamics that are going to be required for us to be able to achieve our goal. The second thing was that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there were two people that we could be jealous of. And one was a man whom Allah had given wealth, and that person disposes of that wealth in a rightful manner. The other was a person to whom Allah had given knowledge, and that person then turns around and not only applies that knowledge, but they also teach it. So there is a part of me that recognizes that Allah and his angels are clearly with them. I can't imagine some organization that was that far along, and then come 2005, Katrina happens and wipes away everything. I mean, you know, I gave thought to people losing their homes, and you know, my heart went out to those, you know, who perished in that flood, but I never got down to the minute little details where people lost all of their documentation. You know, when you're working towards something, and to have come back from that to where it appears they are now, I just want to know how I can get in to fit in. You know, what role is it that not only Graceline Community can play in this process, but as an individual, where do I see myself fitting into this this opportunity? Because I see this as an opportunity for us. But I still have questions. I still have questions, and I'm looking perhaps, and I think he may have mentioned it, or someone mentioned it. It might have been Edward. One, I think we should have this meeting, but I also think that in establishing this meeting, each one of us that is AGU, what did he say? Yeah, what
Anchor Global United.
Yeah, I got the Global United, but I never could pick up on, okay, so it's Anchor Global United. So yes, I think we should arrange this meeting with them. But I also think that each one of us should come with at least no more than 2 agenda items to start. 2 from them, 2 from us. And should they, you know, if they should want to expand that agenda, that's fine. But should we go to a meeting, I'd like to see us go in with an agenda. Perhaps I'm moving this process too fast, but I would like to see if there's any possibility of some sort of affiliation, that Graceline could be some sort of affiliate of this AGU, this Anchor Global United.
They're a Anchor Global United is a for-profit organization. We can't be an affiliate of theirs. We can offer services as a nonprofit, financial literacy or whatever we want to describe ourselves. We can offer services to them as a nonprofit. Can't be an affiliate.
So what there was okay. No,
Well,
then what I have here on my notes was something relative to New Medina. Oh no, I see what it is. When they were talking to the Islamic Development Bank
Of Senegal.
They proposed an affiliation
Right.
of New Medina in the US. So that's where I got that from.
Well, got a question. Rather than everybody join a meeting like that with their own points, why can't we have a meeting just with us to fine tune whatever is shared, so it won't seem like it's all over the map?
So are you suggesting that we as a group have a list of questions to ask them and we
Yes.
develop those?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what Imam Taalib meant. He didn't mean every one of us coming with
Right.
two questions. He meant that our group as a whole, that we have two primary points of focus going into that meeting.
Well, he
But I
mentioned
think
everybody mentioned their points, but he didn't say whether we bring it to the meeting or whether we bring it to each other to decide whether the points that we mentioned deserve to be on
right.
the list. That's all I'm saying.
Right, and I agree with you that we should have that meeting internally. If this right here may be part of that, not the completion of it.
Right, right.
Because I think that there are some things that I would like to have in my hands before that meeting with AGU or the credit union. We didn't even ask them the name of the credit union. I didn't get to that. That was one of my other questions I had, but that's not important. We'll find that out. Because maybe we have to have some non-disclosure agreement signed prior to that meeting, because I would like to have, if they have it, I would like to have a copy of their business plan, if they even have one, if they've even been in control long enough and have any idea of expansion of what they could even do with a business plan or a marketing plan. Or he said that they had audited financials. I know we should be able to at least get our hands on the audited financials to determine where they are. Because before you start putting your money into anything, you kind of want to know what your basis is, where you're starting at, what's your cash burn, where's the money coming from to even pay the 2 part-time employees, and how sustainable is that? Because if you expand, you're going to hire people. You're going to have to pay them. And I mean, there's, I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but those are things that we, as Graceline, would have to think about if we were turning the key in the door of a credit union tomorrow. Is how are we paying people? Where's that money coming from? How long can we sustain it? And where do we get more capital? And capital doesn't come from deposits. And people will confuse that over and over and over again if they don't understand banking. Deposits into your financial institution is not capital for you to go run and spend. That's money that's owed to people. And it takes from the use of those deposits in loans and different things of that nature, earnings from investments. You can you can keep capital and cash flow going in a financial institution. But if all those people showed up day after tomorrow and asked you for their money, you got to give them their money. Or you got to ask some people to come in and shut you down so you don't have to give them their money. You make them wait on their money. Yes, Imam Taalib.
I want to say one more thing, and this is going to be brief. I also want us to consider, as we continue to talk about this, is to not become distracted with the shiny object in the room. I would like to see us continue doing what it is that Graceline Community has been doing. I do see the opportunity, I do see the possibility of either an opportunity or opportunities in the brief conversation that we have. We don't have all the information. And it sounds like there is some sort of what you all have described as synergy. I was real interested, and I don't know if he got to this or not, and someone can let me know. One, I was real interested in the fact that they acquired this credit union without $1 being exchanged. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how that was done. And secondly, did he ever answer what the reaction was or what feedback they had gotten from NCUA? Has this deal been finalized? I mean,
well, the deal in and of itself, it didn't need an ignition. So this particular credit union, and again, this goes for more research. From the little bit that I gathered from this conversation, because there are certain things that you say when you walk into a room and you take over something that's bankrupt and it's been shut down, and you go in with your $100,000 check and you write it to the feds, and the feds give you the keys to the door and say good luck, and you're taking something out of bankruptcy or dormant status or something like that. There's a whole different conversation that you have. So they went in and took over an active credit union that probably opens twice a week, 2 part-time employees, and just handles certain things. I'm sure they're open on Friday, payday, or whatever. I mean, paydays and that type of thing for transactions. I mean, that's minutia, but that's just my guess. So this thing was alive. When they took it over, this thing was alive. Somebody stood up, handed them the keys, and said, "This is your baby now. The formula's in the back. Good luck."
and they added 4 new board members.
Well,
they added 4.
in other words, yeah, they did it by controlling the board. In other words,
Exactly right,
Yeah,
and they knew they had to do it that way.
Yeah, they did say that one of the 5 existing board members
As part of their group.
was part of their group.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So they did a takeover.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Friendly takeover.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Because the people who were probably still on the board were saying, we're getting nowhere. We got nothing.
Right.
And we don't know what to do, and we don't have the energy to fight the long fight. So if you guys think you can do something with it, welcome to my nightmare. Help us out.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
That's why I think it's important, and Taalib, I hear what you're saying. But at no time during this discussion did I see Graceline going away.
Right.
Okay.
At no time during that discussion did I see a need to cancel what we're doing.
Okay.
So we're not trying to do that. We're trying to see if there's a way that we can get to point B.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to mention it because
yeah.
No, don't worry about that.
I don't want to, I don't want to us being like children sticking our head out the window in a moving car.
Dude, one of the absolute worst things that I've ever seen happen in business, and this happened back when I was in my late 20s to a friend of mine, is that somebody gave him the keys to a bright, shiny object and said, this thing has a great future. It just needs the right person in charge of it. And he thought he was the right person in charge of it to run this deal. And about $15 million later, when his house was gone and his wife was gone, he looked out at that thing and it was not nearly as pretty as it looked when he took the keys to it. That's why you do a very thorough examination of anything that somebody is willing to just walk away from. Right?
Right.
If somebody's willing to just totally walk away from something, either they don't know what they had or they know exactly what they had. And that doesn't mean that you can't turn that lump of coal into the most valuable diamond that's ever been found. But you need to know what in the heck you're dealing with.
Right.
And you need to know if you're going to have the backing of NCUA, and you need to know if the means that you have at your behest to grow this thing and make it a long-term success, these ideas that you have, if they can legally be done.
Right.
I mean, he has great ideas. Navy Federal Credit Union, USAA. Man, go back and look at the history when those folks started.
Right.
And you want to look at when they started pulling into these agreements with other entities to be a part of their credit union effort. Or did the credit union effort come as a thing to grow out of, say in USAA's case, the credit union came as something as a result of the fact that they had access through insurance to all these service members and their families. Right? I mean, what are those legal relationships? And how do you keep the quote unquote Chinese wall between those two relationships?
Right, the credit union and your insured, yeah.
Right, and all the life insurance and the health insurance, the auto insurance, and the homeowners and the mutual fund thing that's a part of it, and all these things, they're not the same entity. They're somewhat loosely attached, but all the money's got to be separate, the accounting's got to be separate, the audits are separate. You got to know what you're doing.
Right.
Okay. But day one, Dr. Ali and his group have done exactly what we wish we could do as one of our two options, and that's take over a federal credit union. That is a major step in the right direction.
Yeah, man, it was inspiring.
Yes,
because it can't. my my I'm of a mind that this is not the only one that's.
Oh, there's 50. There's at least 50 that I've identified in the last 10 days that are somewhat in the same boat as the one that Adam identified last Sunday. That may or may not be the one that they bought. I think it probably is.
Well,
But there's at least 50 out there like that.
yeah, but one thing that they had that we got to try, they did it
Inside out.
inside out, and they had somebody
Exactly.
on the inside,
Right.
who was sympathetic, and that's, I mean, that's tailor made for that situation. So,
Right.
Mhm.
not saying there's another one out there like that, but I don't know any people, and I don't know anybody on the board of any.
Yeah, I don't either.
Right.
I mean, I know some, but they're all healthy credit unions. who don't, they don't want anybody's help. It's just,
Right.
please deposit your check and we'll see you down the road when you need a car loan.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, talk about an inside opportunity. This is an inside opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
If it's handled correctly, like I asked him, I mean, everybody in our community, if it's possible at this moment, everybody in our community should be opening a share account.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't care if it's $100. If
Right.
it's possible to do it, should all be opening an account there.
Right.
And it should be trumpeted. It should be front page news, Muslim Journal. I mean, this marketing thing, the fact that they have control of it, and maybe you want to wait until you get it rubber stamped by NCUA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's okay to wait for that. But once that's done, this should be trumpeted coast to coast, Bermuda and everywhere else.
Exactly.
Yes, Sister Khalidah, please go ahead.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. I had a question because most credit unions are state represented, like this North Carolina Credit Union is only in the state of North Carolina. So is there a way to make a universal credit union? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they are, and that's what we were after as a federal credit. Federal credit unions can operate in any state or U.S. territory.
Okay, so that's the difference. For teachers, I know it's the state credit union, but a federal, I get it, because we also have the federal credit unions. Okay.
If you see federal credit union name, they might have locations in multiple states, is what that means.
Okay.
They're not in North Carolina.
Oh, alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Like the teacher state employee credit union. So
yes.
That limits the access to it.
Right. I can't really use it anywhere else. Except, well, I have my debit card, but I mean, as traveling, it's not nationwide. So yeah.
No, that's not true. If you have a debit card from any financial institution in the United States, you can use it anywhere in the United States and U.S. territories.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm exchanging something or trying to make a deposit for someone else, and I don't have like a Bank of America or a universal bank, like from New York or something, then it just hasn't been effective having to, make transactions with people who don't have an account with the credit union.
Unless you do it online.
Okay. All right.
I'm just saying.
All right. Thank you.
The Black Caucus, we have a account at a credit union, and so when I took my deposit there, anyway, they wanted to see my name on the account, right? And if my name on the account, I couldn't even make a deposit.
Wow. Alhamdulillah.
I told him, I said, look here, if somebody wants to put money in our account, just take the money, don't harass them.
Yeah, that's right.
I've
Yeah,
had that
so
experience too. If your name isn't on an account, you can't make someone else couldn't make a deposit for you.
so the way it works, so I've had to do this, and I haven't had to do it this way because now we've got all these little other things like Zelle. But prior to the prominence of Zelle and Cash App and things like that, if I wanted to make a deposit into my son's Bank of America account, I'm not a depositor in Bank of America. I would actually have to get another financial instrument, and I would usually use like a postal money order. Go get a postal money order, write it out as if I was writing a check. Obviously that's how you do it. And then I could put the money in his account, but Bank of America would not accept cash. And that was a part of post 9/11, the know your customer part of the whatever that act was that made everything make you take your shoes off going through the airport and all that stuff, all these protections. So it was part of the anti-money laundering approach because so many of the hijackers on 9/11 were getting money sent to them from all over and it was untraceable. And of course, drug cartels use that same type of approach or did in the past of making large cash deposits. So it was an effort to shut all that down so they will be able to trace things back to its origin and people into other people's accounts or other organizations' accounts. It doesn't work very well, but they were throwing everything against the wall to try to stop that stuff. But back to this thing. So what do you guys think are the key questions? If we were to set a meeting up with them in the next 10 days, what do you think are the key questions we should be asking when we talk to them? And somebody please write these ideas down.
Do we have to submit those today?
No. I'm just saying, off the top of your head, I mean, you listen to the entire thing. And off the top of your head, if you were going to a joint venture with Dr. Ali and the folks who are affiliated with him in growing a bank, and a credit union, I mean, by any other name is a bank. If you're going to go into a joint venture with them, what would you want to know about the condition of the credit union, their direction, goals, and things like that when you sat down to have a conversation with them? What kind of questions would you ask? What would you want to know about any business?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Ignorance first, okay? I'm expressing that, but I would like to know, what's leveraged if you aren't coming with money, what kind of leverages like land or an already business, whether it's failing or being lucrative, what would be considered as a leverage?
Are you talking about their financial condition or what?
From our end, say you said that if we're wanting to perhaps like join forces or whatever, I was saying what would be considered as leverage. Say Graceline doesn't have the leverage of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
What would they consider as a balance of leverage if they provided something that they have as saying, here's our worth?
Well, I mean, so if I don't have money, what do I have that's the equivalent of money? And it may be knowledge.
Okay.
It might be knowledge. It might be access to different ideas, access to capital that's not my capital, right? Like I may have a friend who's been looking for this particular type of opportunity. I'll
Investment
bring my
wise,
friend,
right?
right? I'll bring my friend in. That may
Okay.
be my ticket in the door or my ticket to sit at the table. So, but just in general terms, I mean, I'll put it this way. I'm putting myself in the place of I'm either going to be a depositor, I'm going to be an investor, or I'm bringing knowledge to the table. And there may be some other things I can add, but today, that's where I see myself. I'm either a depositor, an investor, or knowledge, or all three.
And like
Right?
you mentioned, like capital wise, to build the capital for both entities. So, like you said, depositor wouldn't necessarily be the capital
No,
part of it, but
not.
okay,
But it still makes it helps the credit union if they
business
have more
wise, right?
deposits. Well,
Yeah.
their ability to make loans and different things like that, and larger loans, the greater deposit base that you have, the greater opportunity that you have to do those things. Obviously, you still got to have the market to
Mm-hmm.
do those things. It doesn't help you if you have a tremendous depositor base, but you have no market to make any loans. The money's just sitting there doing nothing for you, basically,
Mm.
and it actually could become a liability because you owe interest on people's deposits and you're going to pay them dividends. And if you're not making any money off of it, your balance of payments is not going to look good over, say, a 3 or 4 year period of time. But that kind of stuff is so far ahead that that's not what we're really talking about.
Right.
Sister Khalidah?
Yes, I just wanted to know their loan practices because I know here in North Carolina, you could go to one state credit union and get approved for a loan. And for example, you can get denied at one area, that you could go
Mm-hmm.
across town to another area. And I'm like, what is the difference? At the same credit union and they approve you. I know that happened to my son for a car. And then one of these African American male told me that some of them are just prejudiced. And I don't know if that's the case, but I know I just listened to you and you were talking about the market and the different factors behind them being able to loan. But you
Right,
definitely get. I would want to know their fair practices. How do they deal with the different demographics and how
right,
many approvals they get? Because I've seen it. I witnessed it. I mean, and it's not like you're going
Very
way
good.
across town. It could be 10, 15 minutes away, and
right,
you'll get approved.
right. Yeah, the algorithms that are used are important. This is something we probably talked about this. I'm going to say it was maybe 4 years ago when Graceline really had serious discussions about, what kind of algorithm we would use in determining, whether somebody was credit worthy and because there is a basic formula that a lot of banks use. And when you add in traditional racist redlining types of things, that a lot of African Americans, and in the past, in my state, Hispanics would have been turned down for even a $15,000 home improvement loan, simply based on that algorithm, their last name, zip code they lived in, all of those things, without really taking into full consideration what their financial condition was. That started to change. It's still not a perfect thing, but again, this is one of those down the road type things, other than what we want to probably talk to this group about. But it is a very important part of the equation as to whether long term or not you become a successful financial institution, is how you manage that particular algorithm in determining whether or not you're going to make a loan to somebody. So, but please keep that in mind, because whether it's this particular credit union or it's the one that we start, That's one of the most important things that we will put in place.
So do you want to know how did they get established? Who backed them? How
Well,
they
no,
invest?
no. We know how
Oh,
these guys. We know how they got this credit.
oh,
They took,
okay.
they took over the board of directors.
I mean, AGU is what we're talking about, right?
Well, no, AGU is just a group of businessmen. They're just like us. They're just a
Okay,
group of people.
I'm confused
They're just
now.
so AGU is a group of people just like Graceline. They probably not a nonprofit 501c3, but they're a group of people who got together and said we would like to have a financial institution. They
Okay.
found one of which one of the people on AGU was already a board member of that financial institution. They took over that financial institution by adding 4 additional board members, giving them a 5-to-4 advantage, which was probably pretty easy because the other 4 board members who were there threw up their hands and said, we don't know what we're doing.
Okay.
Somebody else needs to steer the ship.
So who is
So
it that we're to meet with? That was my
we're gonna meet with AGU because they're in control of the credit union.
right. That's what. Okay. Okay. So the
Right.
question.
So to determine whether or not their vision is the same as our vision,
Okay. So that's where we want to go. Okay.
and determine whether or not we want to work with them and to what extent we want to work with them.
Okay. So that would be one
Right.
of the questions. What's their vision?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're, as I told you, I think our visions are pretty much the same, but you need to drill down a little bit to make sure that your vision is the same, that
Right.
your the path that you want to take to realize that vision is the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
I'm going to tell you something. There's nobody in this group that I remember. Please, anybody correct me if I'm wrong. That has any illusion of going to Indonesia, Malaysia, Saudi, UAE, Kuwait, Egypt, Libya, you name it, and asking for a plug nickel,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
No,
No, no,
I'm not interested in talking to any of those clowns.
never crossed my mind.
None of it about capitalizing something because I know what comes with it is you got to dance every time they play music.
I have
Not
heard. Oh well, never mind. That's not for this time.
not in the least bit interested. Plus the fact that they've had ample opportunity to back Islamic banks in the United States that were run by people who speak their language or from their country, and they never have.
I only remember certain situations where, and I can't verify that it was from the UAE or any one of the names you called, but one's calling to just small business people here in the States wanting to transfer those dollars, saying they're making a deposit, but that was that had a bad taste to it. But alhamdulillah, but no, I'm not looking for anything primarily for backing us. No.
Yeah, no, they've had plenty of opportunities to do it, and they never have. And anytime that this, anytime that somebody simply wants to make a deposit as a show of support, tomorrow they can demand their money back.
And that's exactly what happened to many.
So I mean,
They,
it's theater, and I'd rather just pay my $45 and go sit for the 2 hours of the play and write that off. Hopefully, I had a good time. I don't need the theater.
so what's
You
their vision and
Yeah,
how
what's
they
their
intend
vision?
to reach that vision mission
Right,
wise? Okay.
exactly. Yeah. And I trust if they have any financials, I trust Adam and some of the rest of us who have some business knowledge to be able to decipher those financial statements, determine their present condition. And that'll lead you to have an understanding of, how quickly you can develop based on, again, the vision and how do you plan to get there? Because if they do have this group, then capital, that's where capital should start. If they actually have these businessmen that have $50 million in this and $20 million in this, all these things, well, okay, unless all of that is leveraged to the hilt. I mean, if you don't have you have $50 million worth of land and you don't have any equity in it, well, it's the same thing as having zero at the moment. I can tell you all about that, about being land poor. But if you have land and properties, and Imam Taalib can tell us all about this, where you have equity built into it, you built enough and created enough wealth in there that your lands and your improvements exceed what you owe on it. If you owe anything at all, then you have the ability to draw capital from that. And that could be a very large aid. Do they know how to use that capital? Are they willing to put up that capital? In other words, are you willing to invest in your own product? So in that sense, they may not need us at all. If they've got that much capital, they may simply need our knowledge base of ideas of how to best use that capital, if we can add anything at all. And you need to know that. Because there's some situations that people have it under control. They don't need you. They just need the rubber stamp that says, hey, you guys got it under control. Best of luck to you. Call us if you need us. They may not need us at all. Because those are pretty big numbers. You start throwing around $50 million worth of property here and there. That's a nice number.
So staying on that same theme, did I hear correctly that AGU is a holding company?
Correct.
So it is a holding company.
Mm-hmm.
And he used a term that that they have either established or want to establish what he described as verticals. Now,
yes.
I understand what he meant by that,
Mm-hmm.
but what I was confused about was when he said the ultimate goal was to go public.
Right.
Now, I'm not aware of any credit union that is public. When I hear you use that language, that says to me
Bank.
that you want to be on the, following the guidelines of the SEC.
Correct.
So it's not the credit union that they want to go public, but the holding company.
Exactly.
But the whole
They weren't talking
exactly.
about the credit. They're not talking about the credit union going public.
Right. They're talking about the
Holding company.
AGU going public. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's totally different. And
Yeah.
I,
And
I
he
don't
still
know,
doesn't. Go ahead, Adam. I'm sorry.
I don't know if AGU is even by name in the picture with the credit union effort, other than 5 of its members are on the board. That's all I know.
Right.
So I don't know if there's any other relationship between AGU and the credit union on paper.
Not yet.
Right. So I don't think there will be.
So the only
But wait a
link,
minute, wait a minute. That's what I'm questioning. If I am they mentioned two groups. One group was into residential financing.
that's AGU.
No, those are people that are on AGU. He was talking
Exactly.
Right. There was one that's residential finance. There was another one
One is commercial
that was
financing.
commercial.
but
Correct.
that's on AGU. We're concentrating. Keep in
Right.
mind, the only
Right.
reason we're meeting with AGU is because 5 of its members are on the board of the credit union. We're trying to find out about the credit union,
Right.
not AGU necessarily.
Right.
He was just showing you how a group of people came together with various expertise, and that was one of the things they did to get a credit union. But
Okay.
on paper, I don't think you'll find AGU on paper with the National Credit Union Association. You understand?
Nope.
Exactly. I do understand. So let me just cut the love scene and get right to the chase.
Go ahead.
Well, hold on. Let me okay, let me look you over and make sure your lipstick is right. Okay, go ahead.
If I am a developer,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's residential or commercial, and I've got a portfolio that's $50 million or more. I'm going to look for my own bank. I'm going to look for my own institution where I'll be able to do the things that I want to do without having to go to the Chases, the Bank of Americas, the Citibank, whoever else. This is I'm not going.
But you can't. But you can't.
Well,
see, this is the
well, wait a
issue.
minute. Don't tell me you can't.
Bank failure.
Let me ask you a question. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, this came right out of Texas. Does and maybe I'm not sure of the name, but does the name Keating sound familiar to you?
Dude, I knew the man. Had lunch with him.
Okay. Wasn't he a crook?
CWSC ambassador director.
Yes. He owned you remember savings and loans? You ever remember things called savings and loans?
Okay. All right. So don't tell me it can't happen.
No. What I'm saying is it's illegal.
Oh, okay.
and you lose, and in the end, you lose everything.
Okay. Well, that's what happens a lot of times to people with a lot of money.
I understand. And I'm just saying, I don't want any part of that.
And I don't either. And listen, don't misunderstand me. I am not raising a red flag, but I am pulling the handkerchief out of my pocket and just.
Let me say this real quick. Yesterday, and Sister Khalidah can back me up on this. Yesterday, I listened to a YouTube video of Imam Rashad talking about this exact thing of why our leaders fail. And one of the things he referenced was the Atlanta community, a real estate deal where some brothers raised $11 million, primarily from people in our community, to do some real estate stuff. And today, all $11 million is gone and nothing has been built. Nobody's done one thing with the property that was supposed to exist. So typically, this is not always malice. People don't always set out to do bad things on purpose. This is not malice. It could be it's a lack of knowledge. I won't say the word I want to say, but let's just say it's a lack of knowledge, is that there's an actual means within the law and within the guidelines of integrity to get these things done and get them done properly and make sure that they last lifetimes, not a lifetime, but lifetimes. And what I hear when I hear people talking about throwing words around like verticals and all that stuff, is that they're talking about things that they've heard or somebody threw at them that they don't fully understand what it means. Because real people who are in real business don't talk like that. And I'm not saying that Dr. Ali or any of these people haven't been in real business. I'm just saying that bringing a for-profit entities, plural, together with a nonprofit credit union is new to a whole bunch of people, including a lot of us that are on this call. And if you don't understand the differences of what you can and you cannot do, purely out of a desire to do the right thing, you can make mistakes just because you don't really know what you don't know. And that's why I say knowledge base sometimes is just as important as money. You got to have both, but having a good knowledge base will save you a whole bunch of money.
So
And I'm hoping that between the two groups that there's enough of both and enough vision that we avoid the mistakes and that we can help them in some way to make their vision of what they want to do with this credit union that they worked 22 years to get to a success.
So the question then becomes, what safeguards are going to be put in place to protect a nonprofit credit union from a for-profit company?
There's some really, really intelligent people in Alexandria, Virginia that work for NCUA. And one of the things that they will probably do, they will treat this as if it's a brand new credit union. I don't care how many years it's been in business, it's changed hands. They're rather going to treat this as a brand new credit union that they're going to assign, probably for at least a period of 3 years. They're going to assign that credit union basically somebody to look over their shoulder at everything that they do, every keystroke on the computer, every piece of paper that's turned and read and signed off on or initialed. You're going to have somebody there watching over your shoulder to make sure that you did it right.
Did Dr. Ali say what the name of?
We didn't ask.
Okay.
I think Adam told us last week and showed us.
Yeah,
I'm 99. Yeah.
I probably named it.
Huh?
I probably named it last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking for what did you say, 1 million?
Yeah, 1.2 million or something along those lines, I think was the number.
Right. Now,
and I think it was Forest County Teachers Federal Credit Union in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Could have been.
610 Dumas Avenue. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
Wait a minute, Forest?
No.
Forest with 2 R's.
All right.
Forest County Teachers Federal Credit Union. Now, that may not be it, but it's either going to be that one. It may be this one. Issaquena County. This is it, because he did say county.
Mm-hmm.
Issaquena, Issaquena County Federal Credit Union in Mayersville, Mississippi. Assets of $1.2 million. $1,282,057. Designated low income credit union. I bet money that's it.
I bet so.
Issaquena County Federal Credit Union. Does that, Imam Tariq, does that sound, is Mayorsville pretty close to where you guys are down there?
Yeah, you with Mayorsville, but Issaquena is North Mississippi.
Okay.
And
well,
and Hattiesburg to Forest County is central. Well, they're
yeah,
really not central.
I know. It's southeastern Mississippi.
Yeah, they're the hour from Mississippi Gulf Coast. Hattiesburg,
right.
Yeah.
But man, that 1.2 right there, to me, because he used those numbers, that's what it sounds like to me. Is Issaquena? That still it may be Forest, but Forest's total assets were $212,000. They're both federal credit unions.
Issaquena. Consent to issues order assessment of civil and Senate issue final order. 10 days of the date of this order.
But I agree that should be, we should get more information on how they envision their transaction to go.
Right. Yep.
So well, that's, I don't know what this is. I gotta read this a little closer, because something was. It is. Yeah, there's some kind of action that NCUA
had against Issaquena.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably has something to do with.
It was a small sum they had to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for something that
they didn't do right.
Yeah.
Cost and I'm not even reading.
Okay.
I'm not even reading it, and it's just some small mistake that they made. Because they have if they have a low income designation, and this is just based on reading way too much NCUA stuff. There's way too much NCUA stuff in my head. When you have a low income designation, there are so many boxes that you have to check to make sure that you're actually serving the low income people that you said you were going to serve, that it causes low income credit unions to get out of that as quickly as they can. Because there's almost absolutely no way that you're going to meet all those requirements and do all that stuff right. You'd be better off serving nothing but millionaires. You'd have much less boxes to check. It's a tough deal.
Mm-hmm. And they've been in business since 1969. Well, okay.
So, vision, current financials,
loan practices.
If they even have them, I'm betting money right now. Well, he did say that they were redoing their bylaws. Isn't that right, Adam? Didn't he say bylaws?
Yeah,
he said,
I think so.
So they're redoing their bylaws, and there should be some language in their bylaws that has to deal with that, or they, trust me, they got some internal documents that deal with loan practices and service area and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And just like our survey that we originally had asking questions about types of loans that you're going to have in your service area and that type of thing, what people want. He talked about that survey process. The other thing And I should have every one of you sign a non-disclosure agreement on this, but I won't, because we're all friends and members of the same organization. I'm betting money. Well, no, we don't bet. So let me rephrase that. It is my contention that they've never had a conversation with the African American Credit Union Association or CU Collaborate. That's my contention. That groups that actually help credit unions become people, credit unions start, credit unions grow, credit unions know rules and procedures, that they've never had those conversations with those groups. Because all he mentioned was NCUA. And again, this is knowledge-based stuff that it would probably do them a world of good to talk to one of those groups or any other group that's like them, to understand some best practices and ways of even dealing with NCUA. Creating business plans, creating marketing plans, growth and development plans, those type things. And those are to me, sitting here, not being in control of the credit union, those sound like good use of capital, small amounts of capital, to bring in that kind of expertise of somebody who's been dealing with NCUA for years and been dealing with these issues for years. I mean, even NCUA, in all of their information, they say when you're planning to start a credit union, set aside about $30,000 for hiring a consultant to help you make all this stuff happen. So that just popped in my head. So that's another question. Who are you working with as a consultant to help you in this?
And deal. Okay.
Ravani, you've been quiet. What do you got to say, my brother?
Yeah, I just I was just listening. That's all.
Because somebody should send you three dozen roses just for getting into the conversation with Dr. Ali and getting it to this point, because some things are revelatory. They come straight from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brother. I mean, just to
make the connection, and then to
exactly
develop the relationship.
Yeah.
And since he has acquiesced to have a joint meeting, then these questions should be written down for that meeting, for asking questions concerning such a synergy. Okay.
Yeah. And you guys probably, other people other than me, need to ask some of these questions. Yeah. I do think my approach, the way I question people, puts people on the defensive, and I don't know how to stop myself sometimes. And I recognize that, so I think some other people should ask some of these questions.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
He got on the defensive.
Well, I'm only saying that the concern I have with someone else asking questions, that's fine to get the question out there. But then once the answer comes, I think that in many instances, it may be your knowledge base that needs to follow up. If that makes sense. And should they be offended by that in any way, then we need to see that in the beginning. I mean, right up front, because I can't recall being in a business meeting. The only time I recall being in any kind of meeting where where it just dissolved was a meeting that didn't have an agenda. And in the absence of an agenda, it created a situation that it was easy for me to be able to walk away from it. And once I recognized that, I don't go to any meeting without an agenda. I don't go to any meeting that I don't have a planned outcome. That is what it is I'm trying to get out of this meeting. I mean, I'd like to see us go into this meeting with some goals and objectives of our own. Because once it's over, we're going to need to process what the response or responses were. And we're going to have to make a decision whether or not this process is going to continue.
Yeah.
I mean, I see you and Adam being an integral part of some of these questions because I don't possess the knowledge base that the two of you do.
You know how to run a business.
Investment relative to accounting.
No. You know how to run a business, and you run a
No,
successful
I
business
know how to
in
run a
Washington
business.
D.C. And that's all that's all we're talking about.
Yeah, but he trying, brother. He trying.
Don't get it.
I'm not excusing myself from the process. And I have.
Hey, look, don't get it twisted, man. Don't get it twisted. This is all about common sense. How do you run a business?
Well, I think right now we need to just. It's kind of hard to predict the outcome.
Right. Because you don't know the players.
Yeah, we need some questions answered before we even get to that next part.
Exactly.
And I think if we can get those questions answered, till we have some peace of mind, then we can decide, well, yeah, we need to have another round and see what our role can be and whatever. But, and you know how careful we've been in terms of making sure that there was no, quote, self-dealing.
Right. Okay.
We went, some to say, to extreme. And we don't know if they've done, well, Dr. Ali clearly said he's not the subject matter expert, so.
Right.
But we don't know to what extreme they've done the same.
Mm-hmm.
You follow?
Yeah.
And that's what we are trying to answer. The question we're trying to answer, we might not want to. We might not want to align ourselves with them.
Mm-hmm.
Could come there too, even though it looks good. I mean, hey, it looks good, but, and I think we've answered that question before in this conversation. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean, but no one on this call, nobody should discount themselves because you never ran a bank or whatever. Because neither have I. You know, common sense, good judgment. You know, you know what sounds right, and you know what raises questions. And if something raises a question and you can't get a good answer, well, you don't make a deal until you see your question answered to your satisfaction. I mean, if something gives you a queasy feeling, time to go get the Pepto, right? You don't just sit there and continue consuming. You need to take a break. Think about this thing for a minute. And right now, I mean, right now to me, I mean, I'm an optimist for the most part. I mean, I can see it flourishing, but I got a vision because my vision is Graceline Federal Credit, and I know what that should be. I've seen Rabani's renditions of what the lobby will look like and everything else. Right? I have that vision, so I know what that looks like. Is what they're talking about going to morph into what my vision is? Don't know. But I know this. I know how it would. I mean, January 1st, I'd have 4 Graceline people on the board of directors of that thing. All them old folks would be gone. I just, that's just because it's going to grow beyond where they're at. So they'd be gone. Graceline have 4 people on there.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam, sister. Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to know how we are going to be different than the other credit unions. I know, and looking out for our people. I know we're going to have to be fair and just to everybody, but I know a couple years back, and I always say a couple years back, but it's been longer than that. We had some brothers come in and we're identifying areas that we can build those model communities. And I know Detroit was one of them. They had some land there. I also want us to, inshallah, look at Mississippi or in that state. I know we have New Medina, but there is some undeveloped land there. I don't know who owns that land, but we need to look at places that are not overly populated and look at how we as a bank, a credit union, can work with those areas to help create opportunities for equal opportunities for our families as well. So when we go into the credit union, how are we going to not undo what America has done, but how are we going to be different? How are we going to help our the vision of Imam Wardi Muhammad, Rahimullah alayhi, and then also follow the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, without a whole lot of extra, what they call riba. I know we have to just be different. And that's what I'm wanting to hear. How are we going to solve our community concerns? Inshallah.
Education first. Financial literacy. Most people say words around financial stuff that they don't have no understanding of. They just say the words because they heard somebody else say the words. So one of the very first things and what we work on is Graceline Community, and one of the major things that we are about to put out there is financial literacy classes that will be ongoing, so that people are educated and actually understand how financial institutions work, their place in them, how they can help them do certain things. So that's major, and that will continue, and those classes will be offered through Graceline Federal Credit Union to everybody who is a depositor, called shareholder, from the beginning, forever. That's one area. As far as specific types of development, if you're a financial institution that's worth its salt, you are going to develop areas in and around where you have people who are affiliated with the credit union. So if you have people, let's say that there's a credit union in one of our credit unions in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they're making deposits, and Charlotte, North Carolina wants to develop model communities, then the chances are that the credit union is going to loan money in and around an area like Charlotte, as opposed to going outside where there are no depositors. Now, if depositors, people who are involved with the credit union, happen to own land in another place, Hawaii, Mississippi, North Dakota, and they want to develop it, and they meet the criteria for that, either personally or through their organization, sure. Credit union makes those loans for those developments based on particular criteria that have already been established, not on hopes and dreams, but on real study and knowledge that if the credit union is going to risk the money of hardworking people who bring their paychecks and everything there, the credit union is going to make the right decisions in risking those monies and putting them out in developments wherever, even in next door to the credit union. So establishing that particular criteria of what meets the standard of a positive development, whether it's going to be able to pay for itself, that's going to be uniform. And it's not going to be discriminatory if I have anything to do with it.
Yes. Do you know, have anybody heard of those brothers that were coming? I don't know where they were from. Maybe they were from Atlanta, but they came to our masjid and they presented. I have to go back in the emails and see if I can get some information. They presented land that we're encouraging people to buy it because it was so inexpensive. This had to be like maybe 6 years or so. But
Okay.
that could be a way to counteract some of the redlining and some of the, what do you call that when you don't have official
Redlining is a good term.
okay, disparity, because we're coming with so much. It's not just financial ignorance, it's a lot, and we all know what we want to think about positive things. I don't want to talk about all the deficiencies that we have because based off of our situation here in America, but we do know that we're not dealing with face value. Even as a teacher, I had to realize that, because you look at something and see it's so simple. Why aren't they doing it? They really have. We really have been blessed to be Muslim, number one, and to know Allah is Akbar. Because without that, I know I probably would have I don't know what I would have done, even just keeping a level head and just keeping confidence and staying a course in my life. But I'm just saying we definitely need to educate, as you're saying, but also we're going to have to subsidize in some kind of way, like some of the banks do and some of the lenders do as far as housing, and make sure that we have, especially for families with children and then elderly as well, things that we've researched and looked at, areas that we can provide the best bang for their buck, so to speak, or something that they can afford to do.
Right.
And so they can also grow themselves financially too, give them those opportunities. But thank you. I was just thinking, because that was a passion of mine always, especially when I was a young mother, and I will always think, and there were so many children who came to school, they had to pick them up from the hotels, and their mothers would have them so clean and neat looking, you never know. It would just break your heart. And they come to school with bright-eyed, bushy tail, just like everyone else. You can't always tell what's going on behind. So the scenes. So their parents have good intentions. Their parents have good intentions. But I think if they had a little help, then they would be better able to provide their family the lifestyle that they want. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Like a salon.
I just want to add to what Sister Khalidah said, and I think the it that kind of work needs to not only be financial education, financial support, but also we need to recognize where skill gaps are and build those skills so that people can be able to earn the income that is required for them to sustain a quality life, right?
Yes.
Because what is challenging, and I'm speaking from experience. What's challenging when you work with low wealth individuals is their ability to sustain. You can put them in a house. You can be able to offer down payment assistance, all types of assistance to be able to help that family. But ultimately, what typically happens is those families fall into great financial deficiency. One, because we did not build into the family safety nets that will help them become what it means to become a homeowner. What does it take to maintain that household and sustain the income necessary to be able to support the quality of life that they need or that they desire? So that what comes along with financial assistance also is you have to be able to give them the skills to be able to either employ themselves or be able to get the type of employment that will help to maintain their lifestyle. So I just wanted to put that out there. It goes way beyond being able to provide financial support and financial education to people. I see a lot of programs fail because we don't put in those safety nets around families after we support them financially. That's what I'm like.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, sir. Thank
Omar,
you.
you are so correct. And every time I open my mouth and say those exact words with very specifics in mind, I hear crickets. Nobody says a word. I've done it for the last 3 weeks in different venues, both within our community and outside our community. And I don't hear a word in response. I've mentioned specific things. I mentioned becoming an electrician, becoming a carpenter, becoming a plumber, becoming a pipe fitter, and so on and so forth, and developing training programs for those particular professions in particular, and licensing so that you don't learn those professions and then have to go back through somebody else's training program to get your certification to be able to work. And we should be doing these things to do exactly what you said, Brother Omar, so that when people get the finance, they're actually managing something. They have sustainable income and professions that can propel them and their families. Nobody says a word. It's as if I didn't speak. So yeah, we need that. And we should be the ones that are starting those programs in our community. We should be the leaders.
Mhm.
So how do we get that done?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to think about workforce development, right? Where are
Grants,
the
right?
skill gaps in those areas,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think we have to start. We're not going to reach this generation now, right? Because they have been subjected to this idea that the trades are not cannot provide a lifestyle for them, right? They
They're
you
all
know
they're all six they're all six-figure trades.
that is correct. That is correct. So we have to start with those households, those single moms, or those single parent households, because sometimes you have single dads that are raising their children as well, or grandparents that are raising their grandchildren. You start there, where those children are open, right, to the idea of a trade being offered to them, certification provided. There are all types of pathways for different types of employment. I helped to create a program at the local hospital system. It's a statewide hospital system. And what we did, we had a conversation with them about where are you seeing areas in your hospital you need folks to be able to do that work, but you're having a hard time filling those positions. It pays well, but you're having a hard time filling those positions because the people that are applying for those particular employment opportunities do not have the certification, do not have the skill sets, etc. And these are low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Partnering with the local technical school and saying, how can we, because we have a targeted population that we can be a feeder to these programs, and then automatically when they get certified or build the skills necessary, they have an employer that is looking for that skill set. So being able to connect those dots and then creating the pipeline to feed people into employment, that is where workforce development is successful. Just sitting people in the room, giving them training and certification, and then at the end of that training and certification, you have no employment opportunity, that program is going to fail. So when you think about workforce development, we also have to think about the employment pipeline that goes along with that certification process or that training process or whatever. There are opportunities out here. We need to look for it and build the infrastructure to be able to do not only the financial planning and the financial education, but also what comes along when we're talking about providing financial assistance to folks to build a quality of life that we all want to be responsible for. It also comes with building these pipelines that are going to require people to be able to sustain their life.
Right. So that's partnering with corporations. So here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where I live, there is a huge gap in the number of skilled carpenters for home building projects. We're probably 3 years behind on the number of homes that developers want to build because they can't find enough skilled carpenters to build at the rate that they want to. And along with building those homes comes a need for plumbers, electricians, and so on, right? Landscapers. All of that gets backed up. All of that, there are less people employed, people working because the construction isn't going on. And then probably overlap into all kinds of commercial construction and all that stuff as well, where you get the pipe fitters in, welders, and things of that nature. Because there aren't enough skilled people. And I'm not certified in any of those areas. I just know that those gaps exist, like you said. And I also know that there's frustration, even in young men who are coming out of the prison system who want to get into those trades. They run into all kinds of roadblocks as far as their education process, the certification, and their ability to actually get jobs because they're having to go through these European American dominated union shops to be sent out on jobs. So there's some things that need to be overcome in those particular areas. And my wish is that those people in our community, whether they're, I'm talking African American community, whether they be Islamic, but they don't have to be, would take the lead in setting up some of these trade schools or partnering with local community colleges and other entities to set up these training programs, the certification programs, and licensing programs. So you don't have to go hat in hand to somebody who's going to put you down as number 37 on the waiting list of 12 jobs that are going out, to give people the opportunity to go out and seek work on their own with their own certification and licensing. And like I said, every time I mention it, I get crickets. Nobody responds.
Well, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, a long time worker in the background. Myself, I'm speaking of, along with many others here in the Tampa Bay area. but as a model, and thank Omar for and conversation, and Khalidah for asking the question too. Um, the the backdrop to the corporations, and I'm coming from our interfaith discussions that we have. We raise these same questions, and from the angle of seeing the neighborhood associations and the purpose of the neighborhood associations, and how to weave the need from the corporations part. They put out forms. We have representatives that come to the interfaith group meetings, and they say, from the city hall, we have this going on, and this going on. And even the mayor asked, why isn't the information connecting with the everyday person walking and talking and greeting, and saying, we have it on the internet, we have it on our, and it's saying it comes back down to that one-on-one process. And one-on-one could be the neighborhood association pipelining, as using Omar's word, through the neighborhood, but adjusting the mindset. And that's what we found here is there's a lot of assumption. The openness is open, accessibility is there, but again, from prison, you're right. We worked hard here on this from the civic end to get ones to have their records sealed, but it still came with that gap of, like, I don't know whether it's what you meant. You used the word algorithm, whether that is used when a person walks in the door, and as my husband was, God bless his soul, he was he was going to work along with me with just office cleaning, and his records were sealed. But the young lady who was going to take him in, she says, "Oh, we can't hire him because his record." I said, "What record?" And she couldn't explain. So it had a lot to do with just the presence of his, the color of his skin. I mean, dumbfoundedly we were in this day and time, but alhamdulillah, but it occurred. But the larger picture is communication processes. And so, as you were saying about the community taking it on, I've addressed it as well, and trying to get the in-action kind of process to happen. And there's always the words come back separate from that, from actually committing to the action. And I said, okay, Allah, guide us, and it will occur, but it has to go through another avenue, perhaps. But inshallah, we'll get it done. But to have it on a larger scale throughout the country is something we can just keep conveying, Edward. And another part to that, my nephew was 35 years in prison. From 16 years old, he's now 53, 35. He came out 2 years ago when he was 51. And his dedication was, Auntie, I'm going to be a trucker like my husband was. Over 1 million miles he put in. He said he set the bar high. So I have 5 nephews out there that's doing trucking now. And this particular one, he just got his truck 2 weeks ago. He's on the road and he's traveling around. Yes, he's still connected with the system, but his faith and his belief in what he can accomplish is high. But having that put into another person is another job and task all itself. I'll stop right there.
Go ahead, Sister Khalidah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Martha, for sharing that. That's beautiful because we definitely have to have new ways of making ends meet or just making a better lifestyle for ourselves outside of what's traditional. And I have been advocating for people to not only get a college education, like I tell my children, but learn a trade. People are coming from other countries. They're speaking multiple languages. The Latinos, they know how to build houses. We have to start teaching our children, everybody's not going to be, it's good to have an office and sit behind a desk and dress up and go to work, and you work hard. I'm not taking anything away from using your intellect. We also have to be balanced. I guess because we worked so many years I don't know if it has anything to do with slavery, but I know we don't traditionally want to take jobs that require a lot of physical labor, for low pay. but we don't have to take them. My daughter recently, she resigned from her job, and she didn't tell me, but I was over there a lot while she was on the phone going back and forth. She worked for Republic for like almost 10 years, and now her son is 4, and she was in the house for 4 years because they were working from home, but they kept putting more and more on her. First of all, they weren't being honest with customers, and then they always had to sell or try to make the people keep the dumpsters, and then it was just it was an all day task, and then they had to call other people and try to make. And it was just, and every time she would try to post up for another job, because while she was doing that, Allah blessed her to go ahead and get an MBA, online. And as she was nursing my grandson and everything, but now she has that. She said, she told me when she went through DeVry and got that. And so she resigned. She was just frustrated a couple of weeks ago. So keep her in dua. She has her 401k. She said she was going to take and pay her because she just bought a house. Like, alhamdulillah, but it's reasonable. I think the note's $1,500 a month. She went through one of those programs they were gentrifying the neighborhood, but it's a beautiful townhome in the heart of Charlotte, and it's mixed. They have a horse, African American owned actually, and they've been there for years because a lot of those people have been there in that neighborhood for years. But they have a horse stall right down the street, but then it's close to the businesses uptown. So I'm happy for her, and she's okay. But she signed up for this organization called She Built This City, which is they're training the girls about construction and giving them the layout and everything. And they get a small stipend, and classes are on, I think she said Saturday and Wednesday. But it's just so happened that I saw that organization like almost a year ago because they opened it next door to my doctor's office, right across from the masjid. But I was like, what is this? So I went in there and I saw a lot of Latino women. I saw a few males. I don't think they exclude males, but they encourage especially women. And I saw a few white or Caucasian women in there too, learning the trade. But Khadijah, her goal is to come in through what is that, project management. She wants to learn the basics of that, but since she has her MBA, she's very focused. She had her first child at 30, and that's generation Indians not taking no for an answer. She did get one raised after she had her child, but her superior, they have to tell the superior, but then he kept saying, oh, he wanted to try for that, but he didn't have the credentials. And so you have to tell them. And if you get wrote up for anything, I don't care if it's 1 minute late or a customer complaint, they have sometimes customers, you just can't work a deal out. You have to escalate the call. But it seems like every time her time would run out just before she could get promoted or accept that new position, he would write her up. So I told her, no, we're not going to fight fire with fire. He has a boss. So you're going to send an email. Anyway, she eventually got promoted, got a new position. She didn't get promoted. She had to interview and they had to check with him and etc. But she was trying to get another position for like a year and a half. And she just wasn't able to get it. And then they started nitpicking, she said, and she just was frustrated. But how about soon after she did that, they switched companies. Someone else bought them out. And so, but she's happy she did it. And like I said, she's looking for bigger and better things. She's 34. And I'm gonna go see my grandbaby today, and we're gonna go do some. Her house is so beautiful. But I say all that to say, let me get back on track. That we definitely need new ways of having, educating ourselves and building our model communities, because we can all have those office jobs, but also we have to grow our own food. We really don't have the Department of Agriculture isn't that trustworthy here. In other areas, and I kept mentioning this before, I've been on Zooms with the Mosqueers, and I mentioned it as far as the Amish people. I think I told Brother Edward about it. I really don't know what they're doing, but I know when I was a little girl, we used to drive past. I used to live in Pennsylvania. The Amish people, they seem to have their own rural areas. They seem to be peaceful. They seem to be able to evolve. And then our Latino families, I remember even as a little girl, I was like, they do everything together. Because I remember one time our washing machine had broke down. And even me as a young mother, I had to go to the laundromat. I'm like, goodness, they are blessed. I mean, the whole family's at the laundromat. The husband, the wife, the children, the babies. They're very family oriented. And if we go back to those family values, it would help us a lot. So we can't just look at we have multiple layers of deficiencies and also excellence. I don't want to say we're always half empty, because we do have high levels of analysis, and we do have very intelligent people who work hard and do these things. So I don't want to say that, but let me just wrap it up here saying that as a woman, I know sometimes you can go to a training, you can get all the information you want, but it takes time to be able to put it into practical application. You need some solitude, you need some support with your children, especially if you're coming as a single woman with children and you're trying to work and go to school. And if you look, a lot of our women, we just have to say it, are overweight. They don't have the luxury. They can get out and just walk the block, but a lot of that stress. So they know, I need to eat right. I know I need to do this. But if you're just exasperated, you got a million things running through your head, you're the mom and dad, you're taking care of the bills, you're doing everything, and then you're dealing with everybody's emotional status. And then you still, if you're married, you still have to be a good wife and try to live up to those expectations and build that home. But a lot of times you don't have that support system because maybe he's working 2 jobs, or you don't have a husband. So that is also a reason why they overeat, they overspend. It's not an excuse. They overdress, they get their hair done too much. And Ma'am Yahya Abdullah was saying we spend billions of dollars on fake hair in our community. We don't rotate that dollar. But a lot of it underlies a lot of social issues. And I strongly believe that if we go back to marriage and family life, we'll find a lot of solutions in building our communities the way the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. We have the antidote. And I know it was meant not just for us, but for everybody. We definitely need to look at some other solutions, because I've been through, Charlotte has one of the wealthiest banking systems. They got every program under the sun. I know I had childcare resources, which means I could pick a daycare and they would pay my children's daycare. And I'm very resourceful. I had Section 8 at one time. Beautiful neighborhood. I mean, I'm very resourceful. I was determined, with or without a husband, to provide for my family. Even when they went to daycare, I went and worked at the daycare. I went back and got my degree. And then I was able to teach at the school. And then while I was a teacher assistant, I went and got my master's. So I'm a fighter. And a lot of women are, because and men, but you got people depending on you. So I had to shut it down for years, not let anybody in my life, and focus on my children, because I just didn't want what I was seeing other people have to go through. That was another, if the person wasn't committed, then you don't want your children exposed to certain things. So and then I had a good family. I have to give it to my father, Imam Khalil Akbar, my mother. They set great examples and they did very good things. I was a little hard-headed early on in my life. And I just have to admit, because I thought that I knew everything and I really was naive, but we were so sheltered, and I was trying to tell my parents that, we wanted to go and do more things. But to make a long story short, Allah blessed me to stay the course, raise 5 children with a good husband, and I'm thankful for that. But as I evolved into an adult woman, I want to give back, because I see so many women, they come up to me, how did you do it? Even at the masjid now, a lot of sisters don't have their degrees. They don't have, they're looking for places to stay. They're going to the treasurer for money. I mean, all of us have done that at some point, but it's just so important to give back and show them that you can make it. You don't have to be in an abusive marriage. You don't have to run from husband to husband. You don't have to, be homeless. We're going to be here to help you. And one of the things that Dr. Deborah Majid, Rahimahullah, was stressing, that we needed a home for women. We needed a house for women. Before she returned to Allah, she had asked me to meet her. It's like a couple blocks up from the masjid. And I thought she was looking for a school, because that was the big talk in a meeting on that Taalim. It was not too long ago, because we were on Zoom post COVID. And she said, girl, you know what? And I know Dr. Deborah Majid. She was a professor, and she was married to Brother Jamil Majid, but also Imam Nasif Majid, before she returned to Allah. But she said, we need a house for women in our community. We have to help our women. And then shortly after that, she returned to Allah. So we also have to help our men. But just keep that in mind. I know for me, it's coming from a deep sense of what I experienced, and also working with women and just seeing women and men go through certain things. I just really want to be able to not just give them a lecture or a khutbah or a comfortable place at the masjid, but also help actually facilitate change in their life at different levels. And the only way they're going to do that, they're going to have to do it. We can't walk them through it, but we can help provide those systems in place that are necessary for success. And I'll stop there, inshallah.
Thank you. for that. That's a lot to consume. It's a lot to think about. But you
alhamdulillah.
definitely on the right track, I think, in a holistic way to where we envision Graceline Community being a positive force in our community and broader community. All of those things that you mentioned, all of the things that Sister Martha mentioned, all the things that Omar has spoken about this morning, all of those things ultimately, in some way or another, and in a big way, are parts and parcel of what a true nonprofit. And you think of United Way as being one example of things that Graceline Community can do from our Islamic perspective to touch all these aspects of life in the United States and beyond. And that's the dream. What you guys are talking about, that's part of the dream. You know, it's bigger than the credit union. The credit union is going to be a wonderful thing. But the true vision of Graceline Community, in my judgment, is even a bigger picture than credit union. Credit union is just one part of the entire vision of Graceline Community. You know, and that's what Imam Taalib was getting to earlier when he said he doesn't want this bright, shiny thing over here to take our focus off of what our true mission is as Graceline. So you guys keep coming with those ideas and that passion and that determination and force to push all of the things that you talked about. Let's push all of those things forward and look for solutions, look for ways to get those things implemented. And it's really curious, Sister Khalidah, that you mentioned a home for women, because I think one of the things that I mentioned to you at some point in time over the last year to year and a half is my desire to have a dedicated capital fund for our sisters who are in need, where they can go privately and ask for assistance. It doesn't have to be a public thing even, but they can privately ask for assistance, financial assistance, housing assistance, things of this nature. So they're not putting their business out there and people know about their struggle. And I really and truly think that that's another one of those aspects of what Graceline can do. I'm not excluding men, but just because of the fact that, 4 sisters and my mom and many, many aunts and cousins and nieces and all that stuff. And I know what has happened is better for women these days, but I know what has been difficult times in this country for women, especially women of color in the past, that I've always thought that there should be those outlets for women to ask for assistance without having to go bending knees and asking for money or other types of assistance. So good to hear somebody else say those kind of things as well, and Sister Majid in particular. So we got a lot on our plate to keep pushing toward. So, all the notes that you guys took today on questions that we're going to have for this group about the credit union, don't lose those notes. So we think we'll get a chance to discuss these things again in the very near future, come to some kind of a plan of conversation, discussion that when we have an opportunity to meet with them. But all these other things that have been brought up today, let's, in our mind, just like, it's taken us this long to truly kind of flesh out and develop this financial literacy course with publications and everything that we have, and the plan to license people and all these things that are coming into fruition on that end. let's not lose focus on also the things that you guys talked about this morning, and whether individually or as a group, start thinking about ways of those solutions that we talked about, of bringing those to fruition as well. You know, it might be engaging some other groups where there are grants available and funding for certain things. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff in the coming months, and we don't want to lose focus on those things that you guys are passionate about that we haven't jumped into at the moment. We don't want to lose those things. So any information that you can gather on ways for us to properly engage in working towards some of those solutions, you know, put it in a dedicated notebook or whatever, however you have to do it, and keep bringing those things up so that we're talking about them and we're learning more, fleshing them out as to possible solutions. Khalidah, your hand is still up. Is it just still up from previous statements, or did you have something else you wanted to add?
No, I'm gonna put my hand down. I'm sorry. I meant to put it
Okay.
down. Thank
No,
you.
that's okay. No problem. So it is, wow, it's almost 1 o'clock for you guys on the East Coast. I still got a little bit of morning left, about 8 minutes of morning left, 7 now here. Is there anything we haven't touched on or anything that anyone else has to add this morning or afternoon in your case?
I want to say two things. I've listened to what everyone has said, and in fact, I think relative to this last maybe 30 minutes of conversation, I haven't contributed anything, but I want to contribute this without going into a lot of detail. And I'm certainly willing to, and I would suggest that we can address this at another time. But if I had to sum up everything that I've just heard, I want us to recognize that there are powerful forces out there that want to keep people down, keep them ignorant, keep families separated, keep you from knowing about finance, keep you from knowing about building generational wealth. There's just these forces there that have put not just our people, not just Muslims, but has put everyone, I can't say everyone, that have put a substantial number of people in these positions that leave the rest of us feeling as if we've got a job to do in helping change their lives for the better, or what we see as being better. The solution is for us to build trust. And that's going to be, it's going to be difficult, but with Allah's help, these doors of trust will be open, because you're not going to get anyone to listen to you if they don't trust you, if they are not learning to trust you. And how we do that is we can certainly do it individually, but it needs to be done in a way that produces a movement. So we have all these different areas, and if you want to keep it as simple as possible, we have the areas that we're working in as individuals. CWSC does what it does with the group of people that it has been working with for years, and trying to expand their base to include others. Khalidah does the work that she does with families and relationships and marriages. Omar does what he does. And I'm just speaking in relationship now to what I do know. But Omar does what he does with finances. I do what I do with people's final affairs. But it all comes down to trust. I mean, when we're having these conversations about different financial instruments, savings, opportunities to save, opportunities to invest, I listen to what Edward has to say. I listen to what Adam has to say. I mean, so each one of us is bringing something to the table. But what we're bringing to the table, whether we recognize it or not, we have to bring these things because there are other forces out there that are against marriage and healthy relationships, that are against you knowing about financing, and they're against you forming groups in order to establish a think tank. There are forces out there that don't want you to know you need to have your funeral and burial arrangements, to have your wills and your trusts and your powers of attorney. But in order for us to be able to reach these people, and I'm talking about even reach your own family, there has to be we have to establish a level of trust. I see trust as being the solution. And if you can't trust me, then there's no sense in you coming to my orientation on the 5 things that you need to do to avoid a messy death. If you can't trust me, you're not going to listen to me. And if you're not going to listen to me, I'm just wasting my breath and my time with you. And I'm willing to walk away from you, because the last thing I want to be, the last thing any of us should be, is an enabler. I mean, Allah has given us all the tools that we need. We're just not using them. But it's 1 o'clock. That was just, that little sound you just heard was just a reminder that I'm a few minutes away from Dua. So, but I want us to consider these things when we're going about doing the things that we either trying to do or we have a desire to do. Those things that we are even actively doing. Know that there are forces out there that bigger than you, larger than any one of us, that their job is to keep this information away from you, to keep this knowledge away from the people. And I honestly believe that the way we do this, and it won't be on no large scale, it'll be in small groups, it might be just individualized, is trust. And if people see you doing this, I mean, I got a nephew who will be 40, who will be 39 the 26th of September. And I would tell you for the last maybe 10 to 15 years, he pursued a profession, one of the ones that I've heard you all talk about, steam fitter. He does steam fitter, he does plumbing, various things in the trade that he is licensed to do. But in getting there, he had to face forces that were previously unknown to him because he was in a trades that were dominated by people who did not want to see him get ahead. And he endured. And he endured without losing any parts of his manhood. So I recognize, and now for years, he's owned his own home. I mean, he ain't even 40 yet. But when I look back, when my wife look back at those family members that we raised, we put them in the position, Allah allowed us to put them in a position where they would be successful in their life, and we didn't even realize we were doing it at the time. We just kept doing what it was that we were doing and exposing them to the things that we were doing. And it was through that exposure, through that example, that I've got family members today that by any measure, they're successful. And that's going to now be my responsibility. It's our responsibility to take what it is we know and give that to others. But it's going to start by letting them know that we know the deck is stacked against you from the jump. And I think armed with that information, it'll take away some of our people's feelings as if they can't make it. If they know that there are things that have been kept from them on purpose. I mean, this is like Juneteenth all over again. Okay? I mean, something is being kept from them on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, and the only way that I see getting that back for me, getting that back for them, is to do what I can to build these levels of trust. And again, if you can't trust me, then we can stop talking. Because if I can't gain your trust, then there's nothing else I'm going to be able to offer to you. Nothing. Because you don't trust me. For whatever reason, you don't trust me. And part of the reason why you don't trust me is because those forces that have been put in place has given you a mindset that you can't trust me. You shouldn't trust me. You need to be listening to other people who are telling you what not to do, what you can't do. And I mean, I want to see the same thing that everybody else has the desire to see. is that all of us can be knowledgeable or gain knowledge on these things. And recognize too, because I have in the work that I do, I've had to break down my presentations to folk when I talk to them about generational wealth building. I've got to break it down to them by age. Because if you're in a particular range, a particular age range, what I have to talk to you about generational wealth building, it ain't gonna work. It's too late. You too old. You of a big age now. You can't, there's nothing, you can't go back and undo what's already been done to your family. Sure, you can talk about it. You might even make that your final death wish, that your family, come together and build generational wealth. That's how everybody else did it, but it started from an early age. And if you've already passed that early age stage, it's going to be real hard for you to try to convince your 3 children, 5 children, maybe even 1 child, that this is what you're going to have to do to carry on the Uqda name, the Abdullah name, the Shabazz name, whatever name that is. It's going to be real difficult for you to be able to carry that name forward if you're not thinking like the people who have more than you, and try to and understand what it is that they did in order to build generational wealth. If you don't understand that, ain't no hope for you. And I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince you that I'm right, because you've already decided you can't trust me. So you ain't going to listen to me. But I can give you an example after example of people that you know and I know that built generational wealth. These are things that we all learn. I mean, it's out through our experiences. So when I vicariously met a family that owned a piece of commercial property here in Washington, D.C. on Pennsylvania Avenue, and I did a deep dive into how they had passed their property along, because I was trying to purchase their building. So I did some research. And that my research told me that never in my lifetime, my son's lifetime, his children's lifetime, would we ever be able to purchase this building. Never. Because that family had set up a system where that property was going to remain with them. I can't tell you the number of deeds that I found where that property was sold for $10 to a sister-in-law, to a brother-in-law. These were married bloodlines that when family members were brought in, when children were born, they were told, don't you ever sell this property. And they carried out that process. And for those that don't know, your Rockefellers and your Vanderbilts and your these early barons that built generational wealth, a lot of them did it through insurance that established cash surrender value, that passed down from generation to generation. And that cash surrender value built up so much that they were able to take that money, not to go buy a Bentley or a $250,000 watch that some European had made. No, they took that money and invested it so that it would make more money. And they did that generation after generation. Did they lose? Sure they did. Did they cause problems for people in America? Sure they did. But they still remain the standard of generational wealth building. Why is it that you can't do the same thing with your little meager means? And I'm telling you, you can. It may not be on the scale of millions moving into billions. No, it may not be that. You may be a thousandaire. You just have enough money where you're comfortable, your family members are comfortable, and they understand in order to maintain this comfort, we're going to have to work together to build generational wealth. And that's how I raise my son. He understands. Now, when I die, should he decide to just blow it all in Las Vegas? It won't be like I didn't tell him. It won't be like I didn't raise him. It won't be that I did not discuss money and financing and how his father did what he did. You don't necessarily have to do what I do, but I'm leaving you something that you can build on. So if you tell me that you're going to sell a commercial property that I own, I'm not going to give you the opportunity to do that. I can sell it, and I can do what I want with the money that I invested in the property. But I don't need you to take my property and sell it. I can do that myself. My question to you is, how do you think you can build on what it is your mother and father has left you? And that's the conversation that we are not having with our children. We're not having that with our family. And when I say our family, I'm talking about your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts. We ain't having that conversation with them. It's every man and woman for himself. Good luck. I hope you do well, and I hope I do well too. But this idea that we can't do something, I don't accept that. I don't accept it because I did it. And no one on this call right now, and no one that's ever been on it, is going to say that I'm better than any one of you on this call. Nobody. But if I did it, other people can do it too. You just need to be equipped with the knowledge and the information that Allah blessed me with to pass that on to you. Now, I'm going to tell you now some of those things I won't tell you. Not that I did anything that was wrong, but I know there's only a rare person that could do what it is that I've done in order to get where I am right now. It's rare. You can't do it. I followed someone else's lead, and I expanded on what they did by doing it tenfold. But it has left me in a position where I've got to, pretty much on a daily basis, I have to pay attention to everything that I'm doing. Everything that I'm doing in order to make sure that I keep this train moving. And when we get to the next station, that I've got another person, my wife, my son, someone in my family that is going to be able to take over when I die and keep this train moving. So I've said enough. I apologize if I kept you all longer, but I know that there are answers to the things I was hearing because I have nephews that I raised that have done the very things about. They're in the trades. I got a nephew that is a developer. He's not even 50 years old yet. He owns so many properties, I got to go help him. He don't know what he owns. And the good thing for him, and this is something that Khalidah, in your talks when you are speaking of relationships and marriage, those relationships and marriages that work are the ones where the husband and wife are working together. One of my nephew's success is based on the fact that he's a developer and his wife is a real estate agent. My wife and I, we are successful because we work together. She supports what it is I'm doing. I support what it is she's doing. And because of that support, because of the work that she and I have done together, we are raising other people to do the same thing. There's nothing special about us, nothing, except that Allah has blessed us just as He's blessed you. And I know He has. I know He has because I'm still working with everybody that's on this call and those who've left. I know you have something to bring to the table. And we're not going to always agree, and that's okay. But we need to have this level of trust, establish it, not only with each other, but we got to go out and establish this level of trust with the people that we're trying to help. That's what needs to be done. And if we don't do that, we ain't, well, I'll use a better phrase. We are whistling in the wind is a better way to put it. I don't want to offend anyone's sensibilities. But if we can't build up that level of trust, my suggestion is go find something else to do. Because without having that trust, and we've talked about this in Graceline, when we talked about even establishing the credit union. When we went out to try and do it in Philadelphia, in Washington, D.C., when we reached out to Fayetteville, when we reached out to others that I can't even think of right now that we reached out to, nothing happened. Why? Because there wasn't trust. But before we even got to the trust, we needed to recognize that there were powerful forces out there that did not want us to come together, that did not want us to be able to establish a credit union. And much of that was coming from our own people. Much, if not all of it, because the job has been done. They've done a masterful job of keeping us separated, of keeping us not knowing the things that we need to know in order to be able to establish the things that they have. I had a Muslim to tell me one time that he said, I think like people with money think, how rich folk think. I just don't have what they have. But I think like them. And I keep driving myself towards the type of success that I may not even get to see. That's why I'm working with this credit union. That's why I'm working with Graceline. That's what keeps me coming back week after week after week. I want to see this through. That's why I admire what Dr. Rashad Ali brought to the table. Not that they got this credit union. What they brought to the table that was inspiring for me was the 22 years that they've been beating on that rock, trying to get some water out of it. And it finally started. It is right now, I would tell you it's at a trickle. But they know what's inside that rock. They know that there's water that's going to come gushing from that rock. And that, to me, is inspiring. Why? Because if they did it, we can do it. Ain't nothing special about them. Just like I told you, ain't nothing special about me. We needed to hear that story of how they were successful after 22 years. How much time we got in? What? I mean, at the most, 3, going on 4. You know, I can't say, I mean, you know, everybody knows when they came on board. But so we got, I hope it doesn't take that long. All right, and I don't think it will, because Allah brings to you what you need at the time you need it. Maybe what he has in store for us with Dr. Ali is, I mean, you tell me, how timely is this? I mean, we just what, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, we were just reinstated by Internal Revenue Service. That ain't a sign. I mean, what else do we want short of someone handing us the keys to a building and say, you know, do what it is you want to do. This is going to be Graceline Community Federal Credit Union.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes. Okay. So I'm good. Let me without objection
close this out. And
yeah. I'm sorry, because the Dhua came in for me about 12 minutes ago. So
all right.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rabbana hasnatan afirakirati hasnatan akina dabina. Oh Allah, give us good in this world, good in the after, and defend us from the torment of the fire. Ameen. Alhamdulillah.
I mean, man, there'll be some notes to read on this one. I can't wait for the AI to spit out what it's got to spit out.
I forgot that thing was, but it's all good.
It's perfect.
I saw him like,
oh, salam.